Did Auntie Bev just pull a Jennifer McCabe? Hello, 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 and welcome back, roommates, to another titillating edition of Alexa's Room, where we are not lawyers, we are not medical professionals, and we are not law enforcement. We are just people. People who have opinions about all things going on post Karen Read verdict follow-up, including America's favorite dishonorable judge, one Beverly Canola Oil, or, according to her sister, spotted out in the wild. And by the wild, I mean the airport earlier today. So this was posted by a user called @JessGlove77. Essentially, these two girls going up to this woman who appears to be one Beverly Canola Oil at the airport, waiting for her flight to New Orleans, which we know is her second favorite destination spot to escape to when the traffic to the Cape is a little too backed up for her taste, right? She can skip all the traffic by teleporting through the air like Karen Read's Lexus shooting out into outer space. So they respectfully just go up to her and ask, "Are you the judge from Karen Read?" And this is her response to that question.
It's your sister?
Yes. Oh my God.
Are you serious? That's your sister?
Yes.
You look so much alike.
That's amazing.
That's so cool.
I'll tell her.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Are you guys twins?
No.
Oh.
You guys look really
You look so much alike.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's so cool.
Have a good
day.
flight.
So I know that was a little hard to hear with all the background noise, but she says, "No, that's my sister. Be still, my beating heart." I love all of the throwbacks to season 2 because we heard that during Jennifer McCabe's testimony when asked on cross-examination by one Alan Jackson about her first encounter with the FBI. Certainly looks like Beverly. I don't know. What say you? That also very much looks like Beverly. I don't know. Is she a Fitbit watch, Apple Watch gal? Did we catch that? Were we able to see that past her robe? I don't know.
Oh, would you look at that?
Yeah, well.
Would you look at that?
Yeah, there's a few more blemishes on the car.
Oh my gosh, just look at it.
The car is not perfect.
Just look at it. Just look at it.
Yeah, well.
What the heck is that? I mean, just get a look at that.
A cop did that.
A cop. Oh, where is he? I'd like to look at him.
Went over and tried to fight it.
Yeah.
He told me we're not required to post warnings here in New Jersey.
Oh, would you look at that? Listen, I got...
Look at her scurrying in the car as well, too. I mean, I have to wonder if Tully was the one who was picking her up. I mean, he does like to play chauffeur.
They first contacted you telephonically. Called you on the phone. Is that right?
Actually, they walked up to my car.
They walked up to your car?
Yes.
Okay, that was the very first introduction, correct?
Yes.
At that point, they had not identified themselves, correct?
They didn't know.
All right, and at that point, you told them that you were not Jennifer McCabe. They asked you who you were, and you said, "I'm Nicole."
I thought they were like selling something, so I was like, "Oh no, I'm not the homeowner."
I thought it was the Bios guy. Just call me Coco. I mean, we have dogs getting name changes. We have sisters pretending to be other sisters. I mean, it's not like you two even look identical. So, and again, it's not weird that she didn't want to tell these random dudes who were approaching her car who she was. It's weird when you say, "Oh no, I'm Nicole Albert. I'm not Jennifer McCabe." Why wouldn't you want to be Jennifer McCabe, Jennifer? And the same thing goes for you, Beverly. You have a very distinct look. Very distinct bangs. They stick out like a porcupine. So you are easy to pluck out. So I guess that testimony left quite the impression on one Beverly Canola Oil. So earlier today, Peta Tragos from Lawyer You Know sat down with retired Massachusetts judge Carol Erskine. She's also been a fierce advocate of the Harmony Montgomery case. If you've been following that, as well as Sandra Birchmore. But she's been pretty vocal about some of the bizarre rulings and actions of Beverly Canola Oil throughout season 2 of the Karen Reed trial, which she has posted all over her Twitter X's. So I want to play just a couple of clips from his interview with Carol Erskine earlier today, where she shares some of her thoughts and opinions.
Not only did Judge Cannone rubber stamp the less qualified experts and require voir dire of the more qualified experts.
Dr. Crosby, are you pinging?
But she also went further, and you've written orders before. And in your orders, have you ever used the language Judge Cannone used to say, this is a close call, and here are 5 issues that the Commonwealth could use to cross-examine Dr. Russell where I think she's pretty weak? Have you ever done things like that in an order?
I was stunned by that. And no, I've never done anything like that. And the fact is, the reasoning behind it being close, it was just amazing to me. And
you weren't the only one, Carol.
Again, compare it to Burgess. I mean, was it even close that he was qualified when his resume on Aperture was a lie? I mean, it's absolutely stunning. But did you even have a voir dire? No, what you had was, again, a robust cross-examination, which is allowed for the defense to do on every witness. And that was sort of the excuse. Well, I'm going to allow a robust cross-examination. I'm thinking to myself, what does that mean? Like, that's not something that I could picture myself saying, because every defense person is allowed a robust cross-examination.
It's not one of the... Yeah, it's not one of the listed remedies. A listed remedy is you strike the witness, you limit the witness, you sanction somebody. Like, those are the remedies that are available to judges if they find somebody lied or did something wrong. It's not, no listed remedy is I'm going to allow you to cross him really good. You can go,
Yeah.
you can go hard on cross. Like,
and you said it, I think, kind of the right way. I think, I'm trying to be judicious about the way I say things, but but of course, I think you're right. I mean, I just couldn't find that. When I read that decision and it said this was a close one, I was shaking my head and thinking, how is this even close? This is a woman that has 30 years of experience. She's written articles about dog bites. She's probably seen 1,000 dog bites as an emergency room physician. She worked with a police department. I mean, her credentials were impeccable.
Well, she wasn't on Amazon. She wasn't an Amazon published author, Carol. So, of course, it was a close call. Beverly has high standards. If she doesn't have a book she can share with her book club for the month, then you're out. It's absolutely ridiculous. And I see Peter's point here of saying, well, people who, might be lay people like us might not understand, all the ins and outs of what to look for when hiring an expert. But again, just looking on paper, even take ARCA, for example, you see the adults and then you see the kids kicking around in the sandbox, one being Judd Aperture, and then you have Andrew Rentschler and Dr. David Boreanaz, who are conducting real actual experiments. It's like, it really doesn't take somebody who is pursuing a bachelor's degree for 17 years to see the difference and to take one more seriously over the other. And even just listening to the confidence behind every single thing that Dr. Maurice Lathaday Russell would say was impressive.
I mean, impeccable. And so, again, I all I can say is how I viewed it. I mean, how the judge viewed it, that's her discretion. Mm-hmm. Just like every other judge has discretion, she can view it any way she wants. So I'm not going to criticize the fact that, she exercised her discretion. That's what you expect judges to do.
Not out loud, you won't, Carol.
Just from my standpoint, I just didn't see it that way. I didn't see that it was even close. And then this sort of going on in the decision. But, the defense, the defense could do this and can do that. sort of, it was almost like instructing the defense on how to approach this, and maybe, in a way that, wasn't so overt. But I mean, that was just a feeling I have. I'm not accusing the judge of anything, of course, because she has a right to make the decision any way she wants, but it just seemed like there was a lot of guidance provided there. That's just not something I would have done. I just would have decided. I mean, in that case, from my view, and I've spoken about this very issue publicly before, I mean, she was probably one of the most qualified witnesses that I had ever seen. And so to put restrictions and limitations on the testimony was just not something I personally agreed with. Other judges might disagree with me.
But I don't think you would find that to be true. I think a lot of people, I mean, even non-judges, other attorneys too, most people have said she sounds like the most qualified human ever. Like she's the superhuman that maybe was launched out into outer space and has gifted us with all us mere mortals with her wealth of boundless knowledge in literally every aspect. I mean, if you've seen any of the David Gannetti and Bobby Alessi interviews that they've been doing, their little interview tour, they've only had great things to say about Dr. Marie Slay the Day Russell.
Additionally, to talk more about the judge's comments and what comments you may make, Judge Cannone intentionally and purposefully decided to make comments on the record about attorneys throughout this process, specifically having grave concern about certain things the defense attorneys did, finding that they violated Rule 14. These things that she said about Attorney Jackson and specifically the defense attorneys, I'll just say it because she didn't really do it to the prosecutor at all. Those things can follow an attorney, and lawyers can then cite that if they write a motion to you and say, hey, Tragos over here in, Idaho, this judge said it. You don't know who that judge is in Idaho. You have a record of a judge saying you're not reliable or you violated this intentionally. Talk about how big of a deal that is to you as a judge to put something like that on a record about a lawyer and how careful you would be to do that.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. That was a huge, huge deal for me. And I think I might have commented about it, but I didn't want to, get people all fired up about it. But I will say I was fired up about it because when you're on the bench, you have to be so careful about what you say. And you always have to remember that there are rules about what judges can do and not do and what they can say and not say. And judges cannot say things that, bring about any kind of view that they might be biased. When I posted about it, I called it the grave concerns shot heard around the world.
That's a good one, Carol. I like it. I like your spunk. I like your poise, girl. I'll give it to her.
And that's sort of was my description, and that's how I wrote it. Because in my view, in terms of judicial discretion and the proper way you have to carry yourself on a bench, to me that was improper. And the reason I say that is, first of all, it didn't have to be public, because it was surrounding a potential violation. So that's when you bring judges back into the lobby and you sit down with them and say, we need to discuss these improprieties, because that's not really related to the evidence in the case. And so if you think there's some impropriety, you can report it to the Board of Bar Overseers. You can report it to the outside agencies, but to put it out there in front of essentially millions of people, and it also was the way that it was said, I have grave concerns. And you'll notice that she got off the bench shortly after this, which maybe it was a recognition of, maybe I shouldn't have said it that way. And this sort of, degrading comments maybe about the lawyers, and in particular Jackson. I think her feelings of I don't know what to call it, animus or whatever, towards Jackson came out at times during the trial. At least I felt that way. Maybe other people disagree with me.
No one does, honey. No one does, girl. No one does. You got it spot on. I mean, she bolted off that bench quicker than you can say ham sandwich. Just as quickly as we just watched her scurry into Tully's magic van at the NOLA airport. That is how quickly she got off that bench. And I believe that was the same day that Hank Brennan was like, oh, I'm going to be dropping this hot new mixtape called The FBI Investigation is Closed. Available on Apple Music and Spotify for streaming.
However, that I think was improper, and I can't even imagine myself being on the bench and saying something like that, because, like you say, something like that can follow. And a lot of what was being said at that time hadn't been investigated, hadn't been vetted. So you have this comment that's coming out prematurely that's, just has this effect, this very negative effect coming out that millions of people are hearing. I thought it was improper, and it's kind of set a tone, and it also said something. It causes you to ask the question: is this judge a neutral arbitrator if she's saying something like that? And that's what has to happen, because until you are making a decision on something, you have to be a neutral person and listen to the evidence. I was, it's hard to criticize another judge, and I've been criticized for criticizing, judges at times in cases that I felt did not show, maybe proper judicial, the proper judicial manner, or whatever you want to call it. But I have to say, this was something that really I was taken aback by. I just couldn't believe it. And you're right, I didn't think of it in that term. It is exactly what you pointed out. This is something that other people can use later on. Just having someone just make a declaration like that. And the reason I called it, the way that I did was because it was heard by everybody. Every newspaper published it. It just I termed it as the sort of the shot heard around the world, and in my view, this is something that violates the very constitutional tenet of the Sixth Amendment rights. A lot of times I focused on that. I teach constitutional law, so I have a heavy focus on it, and a lot of my viewpoints were premised in that.
Yeah, I mean, it was a soundbite for however long. Court TV was loving it. Anything that would remotely hint to Karen Reed and the defense being up to some kind of shenanigan. Nope, look what the defense did wrong now. Anything that would look completely unfavorable to the defense became an instant headline, an instant soundbite, and it would circulate and circulate and circulate and percolate all over the internet immediately after. It ended up becoming a complete and utter nothing burger. They were sent an invoice from ARCA, and they paid the invoice. The Aperture experts, who we found out got paid nearly $500,000 to cover themselves in pain. If you really had grave concerns, and you're so concerned with shielding the public from knowing so many different things, why not just ask the attorneys to approach the bench instead of leaving the internet to speculate? So if you want to check out that interview in full, it's about an hour and a half long. I will link that in my description box below. I think it was really interesting to get a judge's perspective. We have a lot of attorneys online who have weighed in on the case, and I think, it's been incredibly helpful, an incredible resource for me personally in understanding the law better. But hearing the perspective of a judge is just as much, even more interesting to me, because it makes us feel like everything, every ruling, every decision, every action that was taken throughout the course of the last three and a half years by this presiding judge just confirms every single thing that we already felt in our guts, and that there was definitely a leaning bias. There was definitely, my opinion, corruption, collusion, all the C words. So, a starkly different take than this clip that circulated all over the Twitter X's last week by another retired judge, Wacky Jackie. So he was on Canton Confidential a couple weeks back with Sue O'Connell, the host of the segment. Said it was the host for this disappointing Jack Lew rant. I shared thoughts with the judge directly on June 3rd. I said, your comments crossed the line from analyst to advocate. There's no place for that on our show. He did not appear on that show again. I still respect his service on the bench. Yada, yada, niceties. But, I mean, he just essentially goes around online and whoever will give him a microphone to speak into and says, Karen Read is a killer, which, especially coming from somebody who served on the bench for decades and upholds a certain responsibility within our judicial system. It's absolutely terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. So this is CBS News Boston, WBZ, and this is following the verdict.
Karen Read is acquitted, which means right now no one is being held responsible for the death of John O'Keefe.
And Judge, outside of court, one of our attorneys was asked, are you calling for a reinvestigation into what really happened? You think the Commonwealth will actually reopen any type of investigation?
You know, I don't have any inside information, and I had no communications with the folks involved in this, but certainly not. Karen Read killed Mr. O'Keefe. They just couldn't prove it to a jury. And in America, that means you're not guilty. It does not, I repeat, it does not mean that you are innocent. She had a lot of nerve saying to that microphone that I want justice for Mr. O'Keefe. She was acquitted, but there's nobody else to investigate. There's no third-party culprit.
Karen Read is
so, and that, again, that's from a retired judge, which is absolutely crazy and dangerous. And this is the same narrative. I mean, I made a whole video about Julie Grant and ranting about that for about an hour, about how folks who play some sort of role in our judiciary system, in our government, leaders that us, the people, look up to and look to for guidance and expertise, to uphold a certain professionalism and respect for the service that they provide, for the court, for the jury process. And as the jury foreman has said on every single interview he's had, is Karen Read is innocent. Because it's innocent until proven guilty. And if she's not found guilty, then she's innocent. Then what the duck is she? But this was posted by David Wade, so he was the host that we saw there to the left in that clip. And he says, that was completely inappropriate and unexpected. Yep. So, a stark difference from one retired judge to another. So, there you have it. Before we wrap up this video, the other day I shared that we got our monthly payout from the YouTubes. We had earned $421.61, which was at the time the highest earnings this channel has generated, thanks to all you fine folk. But this month, I'm happy to report that we've we've more than tripled that number, which is fantastic. We might even 4x that number. So thanks to all of you guys tuning in every single week. But every month, if you're new to this channel, we donate a small percentage to a cause we believe in. As things start to shift around, like I've been kind of teasing, I do have a announcement I'm going to be making early next week. We'll be able to do some more charitable work. But right now, the cause that we've been fighting for was freeing Karen Read. Now that she's free, doesn't mean that the fight ain't over, right? Not only for justice for John O'Keefe, but the civil suit that she's going to be facing, and she's going to definitely need our help. So I am here to drop in $80 and make this donation here now. So now I'm just going to enter in my card details, and there we have it. $80 has been sent to Justice for Karen Read Legal Defense Fund. This is always linked, this link, if you want to make your own donation, in my show notes, so you can contribute as much or as little as you can. Again, Karen still has tons to pay for, so any help, I'm sure, would be greatly appreciated by her and her family. Like I said, every month we will take a small portion of how much we generate through this channel, through this content, to causes we believe in. We also got Turtle Boy to free too. If you haven't checked out this post, feel free to scroll through. But I had asked, as we continue to cover this post-verdict follow-up, what other cases do you want my opinions on? So these are the 5 that were at the top of my file, and to no surprise, most people are interested in Sandra Birchmore, Turtle Boy. And I know he has a hearing coming up on July 7th, so I'll definitely be following that. I'm still trying to figure out the best way to present that information to you, just because, one, Sandra Birchmore isn't going to be streamed or televised because it's a federal case. And there are some updates in the case, but there's also a lot of documents and reports to sift through, so that might be looking more like a multi-part series. Maybe I'll try and do a live stream. Who knows? A little intimidating, a little scary, but we'll see. And then the Turtle Boy stuff, I might do as we get closer to his hearing, kind of like a high-level overview of all of the stuff that's gone on with his case over the last year or so. I'm also thinking of doing a members only video on the Noah Pressgrove case. There's a lot of interesting similarities and parallels to this case in a lot of ways. So I might do that for members, and if I do, that'll be sometime next week. So there is a lot of exciting stuff that I'm really excited to talk about, and I will share more with you in a less evasive way next week. So until then, if you enjoyed today's content, make sure you hit that subscribe button, make sure you hit the notification bell so you do not miss the next video from me, and make sure you hit that like button, because that tells the YouTube algorithm that this is newsworthy news, and it is. We got retired judges who know what the duck they're talking about speaking out, and if the mainstream media isn't going to platform them or ask them the kind of questions that a lot of the content creators and law tubers here on the YouTubes are going to ask them, let's get as many eyeballs on these interviews as possible. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.